This is Healthcare Now Radio's Trending Now. Get ready for an exhilarating 30-minute ride through the latest topics driving change in digital health across the news and social media. Join us as our subject matter host takes the lead in uncovering what's hot and what's not. So buckle up and tune in to stay in the know.
Welcome to Trending Now on Healthcare Now Radio, where we explore the forefront of healthcare innovations and transformations. I'm your host, Shahid Shah. Today, we're thrilled to bring you Mary Pat Fralick.
Yes.
Chief Operating Officer at MediQuant from the HIMSS25 show floor. Mary Pat, you've been in this industry for a long time. In fact, you're celebrating an anniversary today.
Yes, 40 years.
Tell us more about that anniversary. What have you seen over the last many decades?
Well, I started in healthcare IT in 1985 at a company called Shared Medical Systems, SMS, which I wouldn't be surprised if there are thousands of people who have origins or pedigrees that, started at SMS. And it was an amazing place to work out of college. They had a unique recruiting, which they brought in kids that played sports. It was a lot of former athletes. And I think they figured that if you could manage sports and academics at the same time, you could put up with what they expected of you back at those days. And it was an unbelievable place to cut your teeth. And I have friends today, 40 years later, many of which have retired, frankly, but still it was a wonderful place to learn healthcare IT. And they taught us so much. Many of us, most of us, were not clinicians, and yet we were in hospitals and sitting side by side with nurses and physicians. And this was the beginning. You're going from manual, literally paper, to some level of automation. Light pens, people listening may not even know what a light pen is, but that was a huge thing, to go be able to touch your screen with a light pen and to select something. Because people would often have to type in, you wanted to order something, you're like, okay, that's number 22, and you would type in a 22, and you're like, oh my gosh, now I can pick up a light pen. So it's changed dramatically, let's just say.
It's such a great it's such a great way to start.
Yeah.
So now roll forward to MediQuant. What do you guys do for your customers, and what do you do at MediQuant?
Yeah, it's interesting to go back to customers, because back then you traveled about the country. I would go to all over the country, implement SMS solutions, and then some of those solutions are still in use today, particularly in Vision, Med Series 4, some of the acquisitions through Siemens, Sorian, Oracle now, Cerner. So we are archiving those solutions. So the go forward EHR, say, whatever that may be, whether it's Meditech or Oracle or mostly Epic, let's be honest, right? So they have to do something with that legacy data, and that's where we come in. So we're able to store that data, whether it's discreetly or through other mechanisms, whichever they choose. And
that was such a great history lesson. And rolling forward, what does MediQuant do for its customers, and what do you do at MediQuant?
So I'm the Chief Operating Officer. I run the delivery organization. So my job is to implement the solutions that we have. We have multiple software products. Our flagship product is called DataArc, and it stores the legacy data that hospitals are not necessarily bringing to their go forward EHR, or in some cases they've moved off of, let's say, SAP and they're on Workday, but that they're still running SAP and they need some place they can't get rid of that data, and they store the data. So interestingly, today we're still implementing systems that were put in 1985 and beyond. Think about the SMS origins, Med Series 4, Envision, Signature even, Eagle, those old systems. And then we're doing Millennium and Meditech and Expanse. And actually we do Epic to Epic conversion. So if there's an acquisition where an existing Epic hospital gets acquired by another Epic hospital, we'll archive their old Epic data, and they bring 2, 3, 5 years forward. So it's a very interesting approach, because these hospitals in some cases are paying millions of dollars to support systems that they don't use, because they have to keep the data around, and some may or may not be up to date with security patches and there's mechanisms for, or I would say, there's a way that they can take those systems, save money. There's a true ROI, where in my prior career in professional services, you're moving from system to system. There's always not a clear ROI, and in this case there is. And there's true dollars, and there's actually the security of moving it away from unsupported systems into a secure environment, and it's accessible at the bedside even. So
what's fascinating, Mary Pat, here is that in healthcare we often say that there's a transition or a transformation, but we forget to remind everybody that older systems can't go anywhere.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah,
They
you
have
need
to
the
stay.
data. And
Yeah.
what's interesting, and I'm by far not an expert in this, but there's so many different cities, states, jurisdictions, types of data. Certain pediatric data has retention requirements that's different than other systems data. So how hospitals are expected to be experts in that information, mind-boggling. So that whole idea of like application rationalization, which is I think a service that almost every health system should do if they haven't, and an opportunity to then put a plan together to take those either dormant systems or less used systems and move it to another platform is really something that everybody should be thinking
That's
about.
such a great idea because
Yeah.
especially as you move into AI, there's going to be
Oh,
new
yeah.
modes of operation, new
Correct.
modalities, and you don't want to just say, okay, we'll put AI here, and then docs and nurses and everybody still has to use all the old systems. So if
Correct.
you can say, let's archive those,
Yeah.
and then move all the money to the new, that gives you 3 new opportunities,
And
right?
it's a true
Yeah.
savings, yeah.
Yeah. So number one, you can think about new systems and not have to pay for old systems like you made the case.
Right.
Number two, it's possible also that in cases of ransomware or security breaches, that you could have this other system like setting an
Correct.
archive
Exactly.
if your main system got locked up.
Yeah.
So how much of that are clients using from MediQuant now?
So the challenge we have today is keeping the archive current, right? So an archive, if you think about it, is all the data. So fire transactions, HL7 transactions, those custom transactions do not contain the standard transactions ability to transfer all the data. So we would say we have a near time right now downtime solution. We're moving towards a real-time downtime solution. So it's a disaster recovery is our goal. Because there's absolutely an opportunity. Many of our customers, unfortunately, have been in that situation, and we have an active archive. So we've had to shut down their archive because you can auto invoke from Epic or Millennium, whatever your current EHR is, into our data arc system. So we've had to actually shut that down because of them being in a ransomware situation. So it's real.
Yeah. So, and as you think about these, what are the major workforce challenges if you don't retire your systems?
Yeah, well, you think about some of these legacy systems. I mean, I'm a dinosaur in this. Like, I walk around and I used to come to these things 40 years ago, like, oh my gosh, hey, and I'm looking around like, I know no one. Or I run into someone like, oh my gosh, you're still around. They're like, yeah, I'm still here. And but there's the expertise is not available, right? So if you do have a patch or some update that you have to make to a system that's aged, you may or may not have the capability to do that. You don't have the people around that have the expertise. So there's a vulnerability there. But also, the workforce challenges hospitals have to maintain their IT staff. You're going to move your best and brightest folks onto the new technologies. You owe it to them to teach them. Nobody wants to sit around and go, I'm going to support the old stuff. How fun is that? It's not, right? And that's not the future. So people want to learn AI. People want to go on to the go forward EHR, whatever system they're implementing. So the challenge is to get those people to engage. And some of these folks, sadly, they have to do both. They have to maintain the old systems and they have to learn the new systems. And we're kind of like trying to get them to engage with us, and it's very challenging because they wear so many hats, and I know how difficult it is for our customers to keep IT staff when the hospitals are not the notoriously, the highest salaries. You have to really buy into the mission. And the keynote yesterday talked about like saving lives and why we do what we do. I remember when I started at the first hospital I went to, the CIO took me to the burn center, and I will never forget that. I was 22 years old, and she brought me to the burn center, and she's like, this is why we're here. And like at times when I think about it, I literally tear up because I wasn't, as a kid, thinking why. I just wanted a job. Like, I wasn't choosing this profession for that, but I've stayed in this industry because of that. And I think that's why people stay in healthcare. It's not about being at the bleeding edge or the leading edge. It's why do I show up for work every day, and how I'm changing lives, and that's pretty meaningful. It really is.
I love the way you phrase that, because the folks that you want to help are those that are here not for the IT.
Yeah,
right?
no, and not for the money. Because if you're just coming for a job and you want to make the most money, then don't get into healthcare. If you want to change people's lives and you want to feel good about what you do and why you show up for work every day, get into healthcare. And I think that, we have challenges where our folks are data engineers, data modelers. These are really smart programmer types, and they're getting recruiting calls every day. And we really focus on our culture. And if you want to stay at MediQuant, you want to be part of our team, we have a program called the MediQuant Way. And it's just the way we treat each other and the way we expect our customers to treat us, and we treat our customers. And it's about connections and being part of a team. And our mission, our why, is to liberate data, so that for secondary use, but also liberate data so our customers can save money to spend on saving lives. So that's our why. So if you're just coming to us or looking for a job so you can make a lot of money and work from home, we're probably not the right place for you.
That makes a ton of sense. So what specific tools do you think, Mary Pat, processes, technologies, what's proving to be most effective in combating healthcare IT worker shortages?
So for us, we haven't leveraged a whole ton of AI yet. I mean, we're kind of tipping our toes into it, really because of the PHI and the concerns we had around. We're a high trust R2 certified shop, so we've established some proof of concepts, very isolated with de-identified patient data, because there's the risks associated with going too far too soon are too big. We can't risk our reputation. So for us, it's about automation, standardization, productizing approaches. We spent a lot of time, 2 years ago, I set up within my delivery organization a Center for Innovation and Collaboration. I took my best technologists, put them in a group under my best senior person and said, challenge the status quo. We've been doing it, company's been around since 1999, there's got to be better ways. And so that group has really brought forth ideas that then become into our adoption center, and then the adoption center brings them into the delivery organization. So I think it's about not necessarily processes or tools yet, because we're moving to that way, but it's creating a culture where you can just try new things and you can take risks, but they have to be calculated and they have to be safe.
So in just the last couple minutes that we have now, how does employee engagement impact your workforce retention, and what do you think are the strategies most effective in addressing those resource constraints that you can extend, kind of like the previous conversation you were having, is that creating the culture of innovation, especially in AI where nobody actually knows what they're doing, is important. But then where does it go from there?
So for us, employee engagement is huge. So we have we're about a 225 person organization. About 80% of our workforce works from home. So it's important for me that my team feels part of a team, that they wake up every day and they feel like they have support. So we do a lot of engagement activities. We do virtual coffee breaks. We have like online games. We send Christmas cards, holiday cards, birthday cards. Every morning, if someone's birthday, I send out an email, like tiny little things that they know we appreciate them as a person. And I think if you do that and you understand their professional development expectations, which we have individualized learning plans, we look at folks' professional development from a skills and also soft skills. I mean, we have a lot of very, very technical people who are amazing technically, but you can't put them in front of a customer. But everybody really should aspire to that, or at least have the capability to do it. Cameras on, interestingly for us, has been a challenge. Folks are like, I have anxiety, I don't want my camera on. I'm like, if you showed up for work every day, you'd have to look me in the eye. So like just encouraging folks, we have cameras on day. We have a lot of fun. We do, movement challenges. We have Halloween costume challenges. We show up in our favorite, jerseys. I'm from Philly, so I have to wear my Eagle stuff, just to, for the next couple months, I'll be winning my Eagles, wearing my winning Eagles jerseys. But I think it's just making them feel part of something. So even though we're not delivering patient care, we're allowing our customers to deliver better patient care, and we lean into that. So when we go live on a system, our implementation, these are true implementations. It's no different than an EHR. We're taking all your data, we're converting it to SQL, we're putting it into our system, and we're going to put a live system in front of you. That's a big project. People underestimate the conversion aspect of it. So celebrating our go lives, reaching out to our customers. We do project quality interviews. That's a big deal. We get a lot of feedback, and that feedback goes back to the team. We do a lessons learned. It's fun. We try to make it fun. Like,
no, that's great.
The work is hard.
What a great way to say that, doing something like archiving
oh my God,
can
it sounds
be
horrible.
Fun, right?
And
it's
it's like
great.
your worst nightmare. Like, oh my gosh, what do you do? I archive data. Oh, that sounds horrible. Well, it doesn't have to be.
It doesn't have to be. That's fantastic. So we really appreciate you being here, Mary Pat.
Oh, yeah.
Love what you guys are doing at MediQuant.
Thank you.
And thanks so much for joining us here at HIMSS.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
All right. Welcome to Trending Now at Healthcare Now Radio, where we explore the forefront of healthcare innovations and transformations. I'm your host, Shah. Today, we're thrilled to bring you Vik Sheshadri, PhD. He's a CTO at MedTech Solutions, and we're at the HIMSS show floor itself. So, Vik, tell us a little bit about what you've seen at HIMSS today, and then we'll jump into learning about your company.
Yeah, sure. A lot of excitement. AI is certainly center everywhere we go. AI and interoperability, so a lot of cool things happening.
Yeah, great. So tell us more about MedTech Solutions. What do you do for your customers? What's the value that you bring to them?
Yeah, MedTech Solutions is really a full-service company. We offer a lot of different services in healthcare, ranging from consulting, MSSP services, all the way up to software that we develop for integration, business continuity, help desk, things like that.
Oh, great! So let's maybe dwell a little bit into. You mentioned the AI. It's like one of those things that there are just clouds everywhere, and everything just says AI. So AI can't actually work without data. I think generally people recognize that. But talk about a little bit when you see your customers thinking about AI. Are they ready with their data integration, interoperability story, or are they jumping the gun, trying to get into AI?
Everybody wants to do what's trendy. And there's certainly some areas of AI that are ready for mass consumption, but really data is key, as you said, and getting the right data, getting it available in a format that can be consumed is really helpful as well. And so people are starting to take steps in that direction as well.
And when they come to you, what are they asking you to do that maybe they can't do on their own, or maybe they don't realize they can't do on their own, but they need you?
Yeah. Ranging from the old integration where we used to do the old HL7 messages, moving data back and forth, all the way up to Fire API integrations, bringing data in, thinking outside the healthcare space, bringing in system data from other sources like Salesforce or ERPs and things like that, and bringing that data together and marrying it with the clinical information to really get a robust data set about that patient.
So there's a sense today that interoperability is somehow solved. You've got that, maybe you've got TEFCA, you've got all the standards that are in place, like Fire has now been a required element in certified EHRs for many, many years. Yeah. Lots of EHR companies have their APIs. Obviously, it's not a solved problem. So tell me, where do we sit in the middle of this almost like a journey to interoperability? Are we still in the early days? Are we in the middle part of this? Like, are we getting towards the end? Where are we?
Well, we got a pretty robust toolkit. Right, and some of the things that you mentioned, some of the regulatory requirements have created tools that can do some pretty interesting things. Leveraging those, not so much. Right, so from a lot of different reasons, some technological hurdles, not really a lot of them, but some more operational hurdles that people run into, getting access to the API, making sure everybody wants to play together. As system vendors tend to be a little bit defensive about their data. And so, of course, we have rules, we have requirements that are in place, and seeing that in action is probably lagging a little bit. But we're seeing more and more every day.
So if you were to just guess and say, what percentage of this data interoperability problem is more of managers or leaders not wanting to share data versus the technical side? You said most technical problems have been solved, but there are some there. So tell us about the business problems of interoperability. This is the business interoperability problem almost versus the technical.
Yeah, I think there are people that are hungry to consume data and to share information, and getting access to that is probably the hardest thing, the largest hurdle right now. Helping groups do that is, I think, really useful, and dealing with that. In terms of a percentage, hard to say an exact percentage, but it's probably in the majority are more business related than technical related.
Yeah, and in fact, this is almost like a perfect time to remind our senior executives that AI, if you're serious about AI, AI requires even more of a team sport, even more consensus. Many parts of your organization have to be now connected and interoperable for you to get any value out of AI. So are you finding that in the last couple of years, interoperability and movement of data has gotten easier to talk to leaders, or is it still very hard?
No, I think so. I think people get it. People understand it. I think in terms of the AI analogy you brought, really what people are looking at are the flashy side of AI, the clinician-facing ambient type solutions that really are well demonstrated and help. But I really think the utility of AI is more down to earth, right? More dealing with the workflows and staff and making their jobs easier and using the data to do that.
So linger on that a bit. Let's expand. So for the unsexy parts of data, what can leaders get out of what you guys help with, so that they don't have to wait for months and years to get some value out of their AI? What are some of those unsexy examples?
Yeah, workflow optimizations, back office solutions that really can assist in improving productivity, right, and really leveraging the AI to make things run smoother.
So how do you get, when you go in and do some of your projects, in order to prove your ROI in some of these areas, what are the kind of things that you like to track early on, or what do you try to do reporting on before you arrive or at the time you arrive, so that when you're done with the project, you can demonstrate that ROI? Lots of people around here are still asking that question: is how the heck do we show it? What do you do?
That's a good question. We start with the data, right? How can we bring the data together that needs to be there for you to make these decisions? Analytics, AI views of that data on top of it, and what kind of benefit can you get from that? It's really hard to just create an ROI calculator to deal with that at this stage. I think we need some more concrete areas where we can bring improvement to really help with that.
And what could customers do either better or easier to help you track what they do today, whether it's just EHRs or apps or things like that, versus what you would do for them? So where can they start capturing things even before bringing in somebody like MedTech Solutions?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard for customers to see they have a problem. They're used to doing things a certain way, and that's the right way for them to do it. Until they look at the data, right? When they look at the data and they can see that there are issues with their workflow and there's optimization that can be had, it really helps. So it is a tough problem, right? Because they don't know they have an issue. So how do you track it afterwards until you identify the issue and solve it?
Yeah, and you mentioned that you're a MSSP. So explain what that is, and where can customers immediately benefit by using an MSSP like you guys?
So we provide support on all areas of their IT outlay. So the IT itself, what we call IT care, assisting with security, their workstations, things like that. Their applications, their EHR technology, supporting with those applications, service desk, things of that nature as well, and trying to optimize those areas for them.
And what are some of what are the contours of what your clients look like? Are they everything from the smallest hospitals to the largest, or where do you normally fit?
Yeah, our clients range, right? So we do inpatient large hospital systems all the way down to provider offices.
Yeah, and what do you feel that the larger hospitals can learn from the smaller ones, and vice versa? Because everybody says we're a snowflake, we're different, but most hospitals have some set of commonality that they could learn from others. Like bringing somebody like you in would allow you to say, okay, we did this at the smalls, and you should do this too, or we've done this in big companies your size. So how much of that comparison contrasting can you do?
It depends on the area. The larger organizations tend to have integration pretty well handled. Not much we usually do in that space in those areas. Smaller organizations, it tends to be a bigger problem, and they can really learn from what the larger organizations have done, but they often don't have the bandwidth or the technical skills to implement those kinds of solutions. And so that's what we can bring to the table, the experience we've had in those larger organizations.
Yeah, that's what I find cool about you guys as an MSSP, is that they probably know in general what they need to get done, but then they work on staff augmentation and other ways of bringing people in. What do you recommend is good about those techniques? Like if they try to do them themselves versus bringing somebody like MedTech Solutions in as a team, what's the difference, and what are the benefits versus detriments?
So in our case, you're dealing with single vendor, right? So we can cover different areas. You have one point of contact. It really is beneficial for the organization. We can give efficiencies across different areas and have them deal with a single source for that. If they're doing it themselves, they're often bringing in multiple vendors to deal with different areas, and it creates a bottleneck for them.
Yeah, and so in those cases, what are some of the ways that you demonstrate, the visibility of what you do for them? How do you do reporting? What kind of help do you provide in transparency and reporting to like the CIO, their CMIO, et cetera? So this is the other problem that I have, is when you have a lot of problems to solve, so you go hire your own people. but you're not sure who's doing what, when, and what are they working on. So how do you guys help them out like that?
Yeah, the key is providing the data, the analytics dashboards, let them know what's happening within their organizations, how things have improved or are improving to get to that final goal.
Yeah, and so when people are asking you about your renewals and things like that in the future, what are some easy ways that you can tell them, here's what we've done for you versus here's what you still need to get done?
So we provide dashboards for them to look at from different KPIs and different metrics that we're tracking depending on the area we're looking at, whether it's from workflow optimization at a clinical level, down to service desk and calls that we're taking, and what kind of improvements have come in place from our engagement.
Oh, that's cool. So it gets it pretty granular, right? So you can actually see
depending on
what's
the
going
area.
on. Yeah, that's pretty nice. So tell us now, as you said at HIMSS today, over the next few years, what are customers not focusing on that they really should focus on? Because once they leave here, there are going to be a lot of shiny objects for them to think about, but there's a lot of stuff they're going to forget about. So what's your advice to people as they leave HIMSS? Great, think about that shiny objects, but here are the 5-10 things you have to work on over the next couple of years.
Yeah, I think you said it at the beginning, which is data is that underlying key to most of the benefits they're going to get from different ancillary things they put in place. So start with the data. Look through where data issues reside within the organization, how you can bridge those gaps.
Nice. And so in the last couple of minutes that we have, tell us a little bit about hospitals. They start to tend to think about their own stuff first, but it's their clinically integrated network, their ambulatory centers, their labs that are out in the field. What could they do about using modern technology to improve that connectivity to the ambulatory, to the out of hospital, big box area that they might not be working on today?
Yeah, with accountable care, with organizational care like that, where data matters across the community, being able to share information, being able to look at a community record of a patient, really important. So HIE certainly play a role in that. ACOs themselves are playing a role in that and making data available. You really have two different models with regard to that, with areas where you have sort of a top-down data, where data is shared within a single instance. All the ambulatory organizations reside within that same instance, and looking at data is easy, versus a community-based approach where I've got a number of rural hospitals that are running different systems, a number of ambulatory clinics that are running different systems, and I'm trying to create that aggregate view of all that data to have that available. So certainly different problems and different tasks that need to be handled in each situation.
But you're saying in 2025, if you had that need where you have disparate EHRs, it's not an unsolvable problem. You just got to get the right team.
That's right.
So talk about that just as the last 30 seconds that we have. They bring you in, and then they can get what in, let's say, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months?
Yeah, we can work to aggregate that information, work with the different vendors that are available there, and see if we can get data moving.
Nice. Oh, that's perfect. So just one quick thing that you're thinking about over the next year. What's one of the favorite projects that you've done in the last few months that you're looking forward to extending with some of your customers?
A lot of Fire-based integrations that we've started doing, working with EHR's API systems, getting more access to information that way is really, really exciting. Yeah. And I think that's just going to grow.
Awesome. Yeah. And that's so down-to-earth, practical stuff that you could do today.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Fantastic. Appreciate you being here from MedTech Solutions, Vik, and we hope to interview you again. See what you're up to.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely.
Take care.